Hi everyone, I'm Sam Fox and I'm a mortgage expert in the UK. I run a company called UK Mortgage Centre based in the Northwest. Today I'm going to be answering 15 questions that we've compiled from our Instagram page. But before we do, make sure you hit like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions along the way, make sure you ask them in the comments below. So let's get to it. Okay, so first question is, how long does it take to purchase a home? That's a great question, and usually meetings with clients start with how long is this process going to take? And essentially, it's how long is a piece of string? Because a house purchase can be completed in 3 or 4 weeks if you're going to buy it at a modern day auction, or it can take 6 months. And recently, in 2025, we finally had a completion for someone who was waiting 18 months. Yes, that was 18 months. It's been a long time for that guy. However, typically, if you're going to buy a house, it's 3, maybe 4 months on average. So number 2, what costs should I anticipate when buying a property? Another great question, and well, they're all great questions because that's why I'm answering them. But yeah, the second one. So in terms of costs, we always focus in on the deposit, right? We're always focusing on the 5% or the 10%, but we need to factor in any legal fees, which might be 2.5 grand, depending on the property purchase price. We might need to look at a survey. So you might have a level 1 survey, or you upgrade to a level 2 or a level 3, which is a full structural report. And then that might kick out a few costs you might want to consider, like a damp course on the property. We then need to look at your home moving costs. So if you're going to buy rent a van for a day or two, or you're going to get a removal company in, or like I made the mistakes in the past, is not having anything to move into the house. So you've got your 10, 15, 20 grand deposits, you've got your legal fees sorted, but you've got absolutely nothing for the new house. So make sure you're factoring in a little bit of a buffer so that you can go and get a room sorted as soon as you get into the house. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to leave a video right here so you can have a look at the costs associated with the house. Number 3, how do I make an offer on a property? So it's pretty simple making an offer on a property. Once you've got your agreement in principle from a mortgage broker or from your bank, and you've had that credit back decision to say, yeah, in principle, we can lend you the amount that you need for your house. Once you've done all the exciting stuff, like done all the viewings on a weekend, you've gone on Rightmove, you've found the one, simply you need to call the estate agent and say, I'd like to make an offer on this property, and they will either take it over the phone or they'll ask you to send it in writing. Now, a little tip that I would give you, always start a little bit lower. The worst that can happen is they're going to say no. Number 4, how do I hire a solicitor or a conveyancer? Now, when buying a house, more often than not, we always use a solicitor and a conveyancer to deal with all the legal paperwork and to make sure that we can actually purchase this property and there's nothing untoward on there. But essentially go online, look at reviews, look in your local area, ask family and friends if they've got any positive recommendations, cross-reference that with reviews and make contact with them for quotations. Once you have 2 or 3 and you speak to them, have a feel for them, then that's when you should be able to make a decision on who's right to work with you. Number 5, what is the minimum deposit required to buy a home? And again, another great question. Now, first-time buyers typically look to purchase a property with 5, 10 or 15% deposit of the purchase price. So if you're buying at £200,000 with a 10% deposit, it's 20 grand saved. Now, the market's changed over the last sort of 2 years, and it is possible to get a 100% mortgage. Now, these are a little bit tricky, and you might need some family support, but essentially 100% mortgage with some lenders might be where you can evidence you've been renting for 12 months and the potential mortgage payments are going to be less or equal to your current rent. So there's a load of bits of criteria around it, and it makes it getting a 100% mortgage really tricky, but it can be done. But typically the minimum is 5% towards the purchase. So moving on to number 6, are there mortgage options available without a deposit? Yeah, there are. Like I've just said, there are 100% mortgages available in today's market. Sometimes it's a genuine 100% where you can purchase the property with no deposit in. Sometimes the more non-high street lenders might want to secure a bit of a deposit against like a parent's asset or a property. So we need to keep that in mind, but in short, they are available. Number 7, how can I improve my credit score before applying for a mortgage? So it's a great question, and there's a really easy way to do this, is get yourself a credit card. It doesn't really matter who it's with because you're not going to be paying interest. Get the credit card, open the account, just stick fuel and basic essentials on the credit card. So let's say you fill your car up twice and it's 200 quid, and you go out for dinner and it's 50 quid. And at the end of the month, it's £250. pay that credit card off in full. Now, if you do this for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, what it's showing to the credit referencing agencies and other lenders is actually you can manage your money. You might have a £2,000 credit limit, but you're only using £250 for essential spending and you're paying it off in full every single month. Number 8, what government schemes are available to help me? Well, the simple one is a lifetime ISA. You can simply save £4,000 per year and the government will give you up to 25% per year as a bonus towards your savings. Quick and easy way to boost them. The second thing you can look at is something called shared ownership. Essentially, you own a portion of the property. Typically, that's 50% or even 25% of the purchase price, and your deposit amounts required are smaller. Yes, you do pay a bit of rent to a housing association, but it's a great way to get you on that property ladder as a first step. So, number 9, an essential one, how do I find out how much I can afford to borrow? So, simple terms, take your gross annual income, times it by 4.5, and that's going to give you a pretty good steer as to where you can lend and how much you can lend. Now, I'm not saying 20 grand times 4.5 is going to get you 2 million, but we have had people come to us and say, I want to buy this house, it's 750 grand, and they've been on 25 grand or 30 grand a year of an income, and it's worlds apart. So before you get anywhere near Rightmove or them online portals, make sure you've got a good understanding. We've got affordability calculators online, and there are loads that lenders provide to you as well, and you basically punch in your basic information, your outgoings, which is your expenditure like car loans, credit card balances, that kind of thing, and it will give you an idea of what you can lend. Number 10, what should I look for during a property viewing? We could literally spend 15 minutes on this, but the key things as you're going into the house are, I would say, smells. If you're opening up a house and it smells musty, there might be some issues with damp, and that can be quite costly going forward. So whilst you're walking around a house, it's also essential to make sure it is suitable for you. And a real simple one is to look for plug sockets. Now, the amount of times I've spoke to mates who've bought houses and there's literally one plug socket in the master bedroom. Just make sure you go around, check it all out. It's got all the essentials that you need and ticks all of the boxes for you. You also want to be imagining yourself living in this house. So when you're viewing it, you need to see what improvements you might need to make, if your furniture's going to fit, if it's not going to fit, and that'll also help the budgets ongoing as well. So number 11, what is the difference between freehold and leasehold properties? So put simply, freehold means that you're going to own the house and you're going to own the land that it sits on as well. And it's quite favourable for properties to be purchased in that way. Leasehold means that you can buy the property, but you don't own the land that it sits on. And it's usually some form of lease that you pay to a landlord per year. Now, typically this will be 900 years plus maybe, and your rent might only be £10–15 per year. If the lease is lower and it's like 100 years and you buy the house, you do have the opportunity to approach the landlord and purchase the land that it's on as well. And that might cost you a couple of grand. But ultimately, you still own the property in both of them. One, you own the land, one, you just sit on the land and you pay a rent for it as well.
Are there any issues that can come from having a leasehold?
Yes, there are. Mysterious voice in the background. So leasehold might have an impact with mortgage lending. So if you're going to buy a house that's got a lease of say 30 years remaining, lots of high street want remaining leases of 80, 85, 90 years. So the person that you're buying the house from might need to extend the lease, or as part of the transaction, you may need to pay for the lease to be extended as well. Number 12, what happens after my offer is accepted? That's great, and if you do get the offer accepted, it means we can move you to the next stage. Now, usually you get issued a memorandum of sale, which details you, the buyer, the purchase price, and the acting solicitors either side. And at this stage, you want to be booking an appointment with your mortgage advisor to go through the final checks to make sure your pay slips still match up, your income's all still where it needs to be, and the lender you've got the agreement in principle for is still the best one to submit that application for you, because interest rates change all of the time. Once you get to there and you've had the formal recommendation, your mortgage advisor will take all your details, submit that application, and your lender will then book the valuation and you move on from there. 13, what additional fees should I be aware of besides the mortgage? So in terms of fees relative to a mortgage, depending on the lender that you go to, there might be a product fee. Most commonly, these are £999 or £995. You can choose to add these to your mortgage if you want to, or you can pay them up front on application. Some lenders, maybe the smaller niche lenders or building societies, might charge an application fee or a booking fee. They might be £100, £200. You may have a standard valuation fee to pay from a lender, but more often than not, as a first-time buyer, you tend to get them free of charge. And then you might have additional fees with your solicitor pay. So if it's a leasehold property, there may be an additional fee to check through all the leasehold paperwork to make sure it's right for you of say £250, whereas a freehold, you might not have that. 14, how can I avoid common mistakes as a first-time buyer? And We're almost there. There's one more, so stick with it, guys. So common mistakes as a first-time buyer is just not being engaged. The biggest mistake I made when I first bought my home is I just let the system run and let my mortgage advisor deal with everything, and I just got the keys and I really wasn't engaged. But I missed out on so much along the way. I forgot to budget. I didn't realize what my mortgage payments were going to be. I didn't realize that in 18 months I'm going to have to try and remortgage or take a new fixed deal with my current lender. And I didn't really budget the overall costs of the property, like your council tax, sky bills, you know, the essentials of water, gas, electricity. So I would just say be really engaged from day one to make sure that, you know, when you get them keys, you know exactly what's happened, and it'll make your life a lot less stressful. Number 15, is it better to buy a new build or an existing property? Now, I'm really going to sit on the fence with this, because buying a new build property can be great because you go into the showroom, they show you around, you can choose your plot, you can decide whether you want the 3-bed or the 4-bed, and they have these really grand names. And the ability to buy the new build means you also get to choose the carpets, the flooring, you can get to choose the kitchen, the upgrades. So there's lots more appeal to a new build, and you can keep going there, you can watch it each stage being built, and you might drive by and get really excited about how it's going to be. And the day you get your keys, it's done. There's no messing around at all. The downside to the new build, you know, hollow walls, when someone's talking downstairs, you can hear them upstairs, that kind of thing. Now, buying a secondary home, you tend to find they're a bit more solid if it's not, you know, previously been a new build. The older style houses are a bit more solid. You've got a bit more space. Sometimes you have a bit more land, or the gardens aren't overlooked. But you might need to do a bit more work. Well, in fact, you probably need to do a little bit of work to get that how you want it to be. So the new build is ready, house nice and shiny, done, keys, and you can move in. The one over here, the one that's been built maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, might need a bit of TLC, but it might be a bit more of a solid property. So you just got to decide what you would prefer. Nice shiny house or something a bit older. If you have any questions, then leave them in the comments or go to my other social channels and ask me over there. And if you want to know what to do when you're buying your first home, then click the video on screen here now. Before I forget, I've got a free first-time buyer guide which you can download in the description box. Remember, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.